track and field is officially back, and if sprinting happens to be your thing, then the 60-meter dash is where it's at least in the month of January. And with all the fast performances that just went down this past weekend, between J.C. Stevenson of USC and the NCAA going 6.50 seconds indoors with a little bit of altitude, and Lachie Kennedy of Australia putting down a new world lead, technically, of 6.43 seconds, outdoors with wind behind him. And then, of course, Kashane Thompson in Astana, Kazakhstan, running his first indoor race as far as we know, winning it in 6.56 seconds. All of that took attention away from the fact that the world's fastest man, specifically because of the one race that you actually have to run, he came back to the track and ran the 60-meter dash indoors. I admit it wasn't at a high-profile meet. It was basically his training group competing against each other, with a few college kids mixed into the field. But ultimately speaking, he got the victory in 6.62 seconds. He ran that time in the prelims and again in the final. The reason why I bring it up is because it is his first meet of the season. And across this weekend, with everything that we've seen, for that matter going back to last weekend, with what went down in Jamaica, we have had a lot of chatter, specifically in my comment section, about the 60-meter dash and the times people are recording and what they actually mean. So allow me to address it. And when I say address it, I mean all of it, at least to the best of my ability. Because what we are watching across all of these 60-meter dash performances in the month of January is not exactly normal, and there's a reason. But the reason why Noah Lyles gets to wear the title of the world's fastest man, whether or not you like it, historically speaking, he did what you have to do to get that title, which is win the one race that you actually have to run. As a result, he knows something about the 60 that people can tend to forget. Yes, we have the clock, but track and field is a competitive sport where you line up in lanes against other people, and then you have to get to the line ahead of everybody else. I also have to give a shout out to Anderson Emerald of the Final Leg for his breakdown on the 60-meter dash performances this past weekend. But this is not exactly the same video, something different. Because now we're gonna have a brutally honest conversation about everything that we just witnessed. Because although it wasn't normal, one thing remains to be true, that when you step to the line in track and field, your reputation is always on the line as well. Nobody really cares about the circumstances around how you got to that line. The only thing we know is who gets there in front. And to be real with you, it's the only thing that we are going to remember when it's all done. The first thing I must address is whether or not the 60-meter dash even matters in the grand scheme of things, because Kashane Thompson ran the 60-meter dash now 2 weeks in a row, outdoors in Jamaica and then indoors in Kazakhstan. And a lot of the commentary is now whether we will ever see him indoors for the remainder of the season. That's not for me to judge, but I can give you the facts. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. If we look at 2024, when it comes to the indoor 60-meter dash, yes, I said indoor, I'll get to that part in a moment. On the men's side and on the women's side, the two athletes who won the 100-meter dash outdoors in the Olympics were Noah Lyles and Julian Alfred. Both of them were at the World Indoor Championships, competing for medals when they got there. Julian Alfred went all the way to win the gold. She competed at the Milrose Games and competed all the way till that point to put herself in that position. She then went outdoors and had more success, obviously in the 100, than anybody else. Noah Lyles took the 60 seriously himself. He showed up in multiple races, ran brand new PRs. All of these races were indoors as far as I could tell. And when it was all done, was at the World Indoor Championships with a silver medal, only losing to the man who has a world record in that event. In that final race, he ran 6.44 seconds, just 1/100th of a second off of his PR. So you can argue that running indoors is going to take away from your outdoor performance if it makes you feel better. but for the two athletes who won the one race that everybody wants to win in their career, specifically last year. That is exactly what they did. They took indoor seriously. Remember, I said the word indoor, not just the 60, and then progressed on into their outdoor campaign. Which brings me now to the second conversation. What we just witnessed on the clock, specifically this past weekend. People want to see fast times, and trust me, I want to see them too. I'm going to start with Kashane Thompson and Noah Lyles, the same two men who were right there at the finish line in the Olympic Games for the 100. If you were watching that race, we all know who was ahead at 60 meters. It was Kashane Thompson. So if you were to tell me that indoors in a 60-meter dash, that Kashane Thompson, at least on any given day, might be able to beat Noah Lyles by 600th of a second in a semis to final situation in like a professional event, I would believe you, because it matches with what we just saw in the 100. They were both running indoors, they both put times on the board, and I will agree, Kashane Thompson didn't just put a better time on the board, it's probably a better race. We can talk about training cycles all we want, but remember, when you step to the line, your reputation is always on the line as well. We know that these races aren't the most important races they will run during the season. If they continued indoors, they were not going to be the most important ones, and they're definitely not the most important ones they'll get when we get outdoors. None of that matters at the moment. We can only talk about what we're witnessing, because if it is a competitive sport, then the competitions are entertainment. Who wins and who loses actually matters, at least for the moment. But now I'm going to ask you a very serious question. When we take Lachie Kennedy's performance outdoors in the 60-meter dash and put it in perspective, he ran 6.43 seconds with a plus 1.6 tailwind behind him. I looked at the results for the rest of the men in that field. I will give you the times for second, third, and fourth place. 6.50, 6.52, and then 6.55. All of them are faster than Kashane Thompson and Noah Lyles just ran. Be honest with me. Do you really believe that all of those men, because if you don't know who Lachie Kennedy is, I definitely know you're not aware of who anybody else behind him was in that race. You really think that if they lined up with them, either in Kazakhstan or in Florida for the meet that Noah Lyles was at, that they would get to the line ahead of those men? Because I'm not betting on it. I'm not sure how much outdoor 60-meter dash races actually have value, specifically when we compare them to indoors. So I'm just not going to do it, because rationally speaking, I just don't see a world where, okay, fine, maybe Lachie Kennedy could have competed with them on that day, but I'm definitely not giving it to the rest of them. For the record, I do have to issue a formal apology, because in my last video on Lachie Kennedy, I did not say his name correctly. I apologize. And for that matter, I guess it's a rite of passage, because he ran fast enough to teach me how to say his name internationally, because I pronounced it like an American. I didn't mean to. That said, I'm not going to forget it again, because when you put 6.43 on the board, however you choose to do it, we will remember. And now I have to address where the college kids fit into all of this, because JC Stevenson ran a new collegiate lead of 6.50 seconds. I do believe it will be converted down for altitude, or in this case converted up. Regardless, he's not the only fast collegian that we've seen. Johnny Dwyer ran 6.55 seconds to open up his season indoors. Again, I totally understand training cycles, but college athletes in sprints, their season is not scheduled to end at least in June if you are a championship caliber sprinter. So when people float the idea that we should expect them to be faster than the pros at this point in their training, I'm not entirely buying that. The times you put on the board are the times you put on the board, because some of these college kids are Olympic caliber. Some of them were at the games and then came back to college. The truth is that the 60-meter dash is a separate race from the 100. But the athletes who are most successful in the 100 should be able to put down an amazing 60-meter. But up until this year, for the most part, we only looked at indoor 60-meter dashes. I believe World Athletics, and Anderson Emerald put me onto this, they are now starting to integrate outdoor times into the leaderboard for the 60-meter dash. So it does make it a lot more challenging for us to figure out what just happened. But I have to make this point clear. Every time you step to the line, all you really have to do is beat the people who are there. Because if you keep winning, eventually you will be in the biggest race of the year. Indoors for the 60, the World Indoor Championship is where you prove it. The athletes who have won the 60-meter dash indoors at the World Championships, I'm just going to go over the names from the past few years. From 2016 up until now, it was Trayvon Bromell, Christian Coleman, Lamont Marcel Jacobs, and then Christian Coleman again. All of the men I just gave you are either Olympic gold medalists or world champions in the 100, except for Trayvon Bromell, who only got third at the Worlds. But he's also dealt with a whole bunch of injuries between 2016 and now, and even still, he's run world-leading times in the 100 during that time span. So as far as the men are concerned, you gotta put in work running the 60, indoors, probably all the way through to the Worlds, if you really want to put up numbers when we get outdoors in the 100 as well. But on the women's side, although the numbers don't look quite exactly the same, I'm just going to give you a few names. Julian Alfred, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, and Veronica Campbell-Brown. All of them are world champions indoors in the 60-meter dash. So yeah, the 60 still matters for them as well, because you know very well just exactly how good they are outdoors. I recognize this video is a little bit different, because the 60-meter dash situation, specifically right now in the month of January, is a situation. That said, the only thing that really matters is, can you get on the line during the one race that you actually need to run? Indoors, if you're taking it seriously, the only race that we have that matters will be the World Indoor Championship Final. And if that is not enough for you, you can punt away on it if it's your choice. I totally respect it. But historically speaking, the athletes who do show up indoors and give it at least some of their attention probably are going to have a leg up on you when we get outdoors. Because we do know that the entire world will be watching when the 100 final goes off. And only one person can get to the line in front, no matter how small the margin of victory actually is. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your Fast is a Lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.